At the beginning of the movie, we see 14-year-old Roger returning home during his summer vacation. His mother comes to pick him up, bringing along their maid, Savita. Roger becomes very excited seeing Savita's bouncing figure, and Savita also understands his intentions but does not say anything. Slowly, they both reach home, where all the family members warmly welcome Roger. Ahead, we see that Roger also has a sister named Bertha. Then Bertha takes Roger for a walk in the forest, where Roger again meets Savita. Suddenly, Savita feels an urge and starts watering the plants right there in front of Roger, leaving Roger's eyes wide open. He starts thinking, "Oh my, what did I just witness?" Afterward, while lost in his thoughts and strolling through the forest, Roger suddenly slips and falls into a nearby bush, where he hears a girl laughing. Then he sees Ursula, another maid from his house, being intimate in the forest with an unknown man. Ursula notices Roger watching and smiles at him, causing Roger to panic and run away. That night, after having dinner with his family, Roger goes to his room to sleep. Suddenly, he hears some rustling sounds outside his room. When he looks outside, he sees Helen, another maid from his house, being touched by someone behind the door. After finishing her act, Helen gives a smile and leaves. Roger, suppressing his desires, somehow goes back to sleep. The next morning, Bertha takes Roger to a riverside where all the maids from their house were bathing and sharing cigarettes. While they are talking, all the housemaids gather by the riverside. Then, 3 male servants from Roger's house appear on the other side of the river. The 3 men begin to showcase their tools while relieving themselves. But Ursula isn't one to back down and also flaunts her assets with excitement. Roger observes all this while hiding behind a tree. The next day, we see Roger's elder sister Elisa returning home with their father. All the family members warmly welcome her. Elisa hugs everyone but only nods at Roger and goes inside. Roger feels upset by this discrimination, which Bertha notices and understands. To cheer him up, she takes him to a church. They climb up to the roof, where they overhear their Aunt Margaret confessing to the priest. Margaret tells the priest, a grave sin has occurred. My nephew Roger has come here on his summer vacation, and ever since I bumped into him, I've been infatuated with him. Many times, I've imagined myself being intimate with him. Hearing all this, Roger, hiding on the roof, listens intently and feels very happy, thinking, at least there is someone in this house who thinks about me. Just then, he accidentally falls from the roof, exposing himself. Afterward, Margaret and the priest inform Roger's mother about everything. Roger's mother becomes very angry and instructs the servant to fetch a whip. The servant brings the whip, and Margaret is asked to give Roger 10 lashes as punishment. Meanwhile, Elisa's fiancé Roland arrives, and seeing Roger being punished, he starts laughing. After the lashes, Roger's back turns red, and that night, he sleeps on his stomach. However, during the night, Roger again hears the sound of dishes clattering. He goes outside to investigate and sees Helen again being touched from behind. But this time, we don't find out who the Mr. Invisible is. Roger enjoys watching this, and so does Frank, the family's butler. To learn more, Roger sneaks into Frank's room, where he sees Frank peeking through binoculars and touching himself. Seeing Roger in his room, Frank is startled and leaves. While returning to his room, Roger hears noises outside his parents' room. He tries to peek through the keyhole but is caught by Roland. Roger pleads with Roland not to tell his parents and offers to do whatever he wants in exchange. Roland agrees and asks Roger to clean his car. The next day, while Roger is talking with Elisa and Roland rudely asks Roger to clean his dirty shoes. Roger refuses, which angers Roland, who complains to Roger's mother about how he was caught spying last night. Hearing this, Roger's mother becomes furious and orders him to leave the house. Roger takes this opportunity to switch one of Elisa's books with an erotic novel. Later, he hides and watches Elisa reading the book. The story starts stirring thoughts in Elisa's mind, and Roger's desires are also reignited. He approaches Ursula, who is working in the kitchen, and grabs her from behind. Scared, Ursula hits Roger on the head with a plate, causing him to see stars. When Ursula realizes it's Roger, she agrees to be intimate with him, but another maid enters, and Roger has to flee. Later, a postman arrives, announcing loudly that war has begun. Germany has declared war on France, causing all the village men to prepare for battle. Roger's family decides to throw a party the night before the men leave for war. Hearing this, Roger becomes secretly excited, knowing that all the women will be left behind in the house. The next day, all the men leave for war. Now, with the house full of women, Roger takes his chance. He charms Ursula, and they become intimate. The next day, he seduces Kate by the riverside. His confidence grows, and he starts planning how to be intimate with every woman in the house. That night, he sneaks into Margaret's room. When Margaret protests, Roger reassures her, saying, "I know you're a virgin, and I'm here to help you." At first, she refuses, but after some hesitation, she gives in. Soon after, Helen, unable to find her Mr. Invisible, comes straight to Roger's room. Roger fulfills her desire, and they become intimate. The next day, while Roger and Bertha are sitting in the garden, he notices Elisa. He approaches her, and although Elisa initially refuses, the erotic stories she has been reading weaken her resolve, and they too become intimate. Eventually, all the household women start lining up to visit Roger's room. One day, after spending time with Elisa, she tells Roger that she is pregnant. Shocked, Roger starts panicking but quickly comes up with a plan. He tells Elisa to seduce Roland that night to cover her pregnancy. He then convinces Margaret to marry Frank and persuades Ursula to marry another servant. The next day, all three women are married, and no one suspects anything. A few days later, Roger's summer vacation ends, and he prepares to return to boarding school. Helen approaches him, revealing that she too is pregnant. Roger assures her, "Don't worry, I'll arrange a groom for you." Helen smiles and replies, "There's no need for that. I can choose any man in the village." The next morning, Roger leaves for boarding school, and the movie ends there.